In the vast black stretch of the galaxy at the heart of known space, floated the shining world of Concordia Prime, an artificial planet built over 5 centuries by the combined efforts of hundreds of alien species. It was the seat of the Galactic Council, a place of strict laws, peaceful debate, and an obsession with order. The planet sparkled like a jewel. Massive silver towers stretched into the sky. Ships from across the galaxy flowed in and out of the atmosphere like rivers, and every species under council rule had a place here. Inside the Grand Assembly Hall, high above the city surface, the council gathered once more. Today, the chamber was calm. The councilors sat in their floating seats, arranged in wide rings around a central speaker's platform. Alien voices clicked, hissed, and hummed as they discussed energy tariffs, transport permissions, and disputes over mining rights. Chancellor Virexthal, the elected supreme speaker of the council, presided from his tall central throne. He was long-limbed and scaled, his face a cold, unreadable mask. Virex had served in the council for over a century. He did not like change. He especially did not like surprises. He had just begun to speak when a sudden alert chime interrupted him. A council AI, housed in a floating orb, hovered into view and spoke in a calm mechanical tone. Priority signal. Unauthorized fleet detected on the edge of Sector 19, approaching council space. All motion stopped. Voices faded. Councilors turned to their screens, pulling up the data feed. Dozens of ships, large, sleek, and fast, were moving in perfect formation toward council-monitored space. No known insignias. No previous records. The ships were broadcasting a signal in perfect Gal Basic, the standard diplomatic language of the council. This is the Earth Diplomatic Fleet. We come in peace. We request audience with the Galactic Council. Virex narrowed his eyes. Earth, he repeated, his voice cold and slow. That world was deemed primitive, over a century ago. He waved a clawed hand, and a council technician pulled up Earth's last classification file. It was outdated. The record listed Earth as unstable, pre-warp, high internal conflict. Another voice spoke from the far side of the chamber. It was Ambassador Creel, a fur-covered being from the Palari sector. How did they build ships like this so fast? This fleet, these readings, this isn't primitive. Others began to murmur. The readings were undeniable. The Earth ships moved with precision, powered by energy signatures more advanced than anything the Council had seen in decades. Some species were intrigued. Some were alarmed. Virex's voice cut through the noise. Send no reply. Lock down the inner systems. No contact until a full security council is assembled. But the AI orb floated forward again. Message incoming. Priority level. Diplomatic. Human envoy requesting planetary landing. Clearance code. Earth Alpha 1. The hall fell silent. Virex's eyes narrowed further. They have clearance codes. It was impossible. Earth shouldn't have any access to council protocols. A smaller ambassador, lizard-like and nervous, leaned forward. What if they've made contact with outsiders? Independents? Traitors? Or worse, Virex muttered, they've been hiding their true strength. A vote was called, fast and full of fear. Some pushed for immediate rejection. Others argued for caution. In the end, by a narrow margin, the Council agreed to allow a single Earthship to land, under strict supervision. Within hours, a gleaming black ship entered Concordia Prime's upper atmosphere. Unlike the blocky, elaborate designs of most Council vessels, this one was smooth, sharp-edged, and silent. It moved like a shadow across the sky. It settled on the Council's private landing pad, flanked by security drones and watched by diplomats from a dozen species. When the ramp lowered, a single figure stepped out. Commander Alina Voss. She wore a dark blue uniform, minimal but sharp. No armor. No weapons visible. Her expression was calm, steady. Her boots clicked on the metal surface as she approached the Council's receiving party. She spoke clearly, her voice soft but confident. On behalf of the unified Earth government, I bring greetings. Humanity has come to join the stars. Councilors looked to each other in disbelief. Virex stared at her, then turned and walked away without a word. To him, this wasn't a beginning. It was a warning. Commander Alina Voss stood tall in the receiving hall of Concordia Prime. Around her, the towering walls of silver and glass reflected light from distant stars. Alien eyes watched her from every direction, skeptical, curious, even hostile. The air was sterile, cold, and filled with a tense silence. She had trained for this moment her entire life. Born in the city of New Dakar, Alina had grown up during Earth's final wars, conflicts that ended in unity after centuries of division. She had served in the Earth fleet from the age of 17, rising quickly through the ranks. Her calm under fire and her sharp thinking made her a natural leader. But after the wars ended, she left the battlefield for diplomacy. Now, at age 34, she stood as humanity's voice in the galaxy. The Galactic Council's receiving party was made up of 7 members, each from a different founding species. They stood in a semicircle, taller and more exotic than anything Earth had ever known. Some had scales. Some had feathers. One floated in a mechanical exosuit filled with blue mist. Alina bowed slightly, her movements controlled and respectful. "Thank you for receiving me," she said. "Earth seeks peaceful relations and open dialogue." No one answered right away. Finally, a short ambassador with a bark-like face stepped forward. His voice was low and gravelly. "You claim to be Earth's representative. But Earth was last classified as unfit for contact. Your world was chaotic, divided, dangerous." Alina nodded calmly. "That was over 100 years ago. Since then, we've united. We've developed faster-than-light travel, artificial intelligence, terraforming, and we've come not to beg, but to offer partnership." A second ambassador stepped forward, one with long, glassy eyes and silver ropes. "Your ships are advanced. Too advanced. Where did you acquire this technology?" Alina smiled slightly. "We built it ourselves. Humans work quickly when we stop fighting each other." A soft murmur passed through the receiving party. One of them whispered, "She's serious." At that moment, Chancellor Virex Thal entered the hall. His presence was like ice. Council guards followed behind him in silence. He walked slowly up to Alina, his tall frame towering over her. His dark robe shimmered under the overhead lights. "Commander Voss," he said, his voice controlled. "You arrive without warning. You bring a fleet. You make bold claims. Do you realize how dangerous this is?" Alina met his gaze without blinking. "With respect, Chancellor, we arrived with open communication. Our weapons are powered down. We asked permission to land. Our only goal is peaceful diplomacy." "You speak like a conqueror asking for tea," Virex replied coldly. "Humanity is known for aggression. What makes us believe you've changed?" Alina stepped forward slightly. "Because we've already paid the price for our past. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we learned to cooperate. Now we're ready to join a greater union. But we won't come in chains." Virex narrowed his eyes. The other ambassadors glanced at one another. The tension in the hall could be felt like heat. A floating council AI orb hovered near Virex's shoulder. "Chancellor," it said, "there is increasing interest from outer species requesting updates on Earth status. Some are requesting trade talks." That made Virex pause. He knew the council was made of more than just rules and tradition. Politics mattered. Resources mattered. And if other species started aligning with Earth before the council made a decision, it would weaken their authority. He looked back at Alina. "You'll be granted temporary diplomatic clearance," he said finally. "You may speak before the council in 3 cycles. Until then, you are to remain in designated zones. No contact with council members outside of official channels." "Agreed. Agreed," Alina said. The room began to stir again as the ambassadors dispersed. Some looked back at her with curiosity, others with distrust, a few with admiration. As she turned to walk back to her ship's escort, one of her aides, Lieutenant Rico Sound, a young engineer, whispered beside her, "Do you think it worked?" Alina gave a slow nod. It started something. Outside, beyond the transparent walls of the hall, the city of Concordia Prime pulsed with movement. Ships flew past spires. Lights danced across the skyline. The galaxy was watching. And Earth had finally taken its first real step into it. 3 days had passed since Commander Alina Voss stepped onto Concordia Prime. The news of humanity's return spread like fire through council space. On distant colonies, in orbital markets, and deep space trade posts, the name Earth was spoken again, for the first time in over a century. Some feared it. Some mocked it. But many listened. On Concordia Prime, inside the council's silver towers, everything looked calm. But behind closed doors, political storms were brewing. Alina's presence stirred the heart of the council. For years, the Galactic Council had managed the known galaxy with careful diplomacy and strict order. New species were admitted slowly, after long tests and centuries of monitoring. Earth had skipped the line. And worse, they hadn't come begging. They had come strong. Inside the Earth diplomatic quarters, a clean, rectangular chamber high in the sky, Alina sat with her small team. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Rikosen, read a new report. 17 species have requested private meetings, he said. 12 want to discuss trade. 5 are curious about military cooperation. Alina leaned back, thinking, we can't rush. It'll only make Virex push harder. Speaking of Virex, said another voice, Dr. Aruna Malik, Earth's cultural liaison. She was older than Alina, wise and cautious. He's calling for a motion to restrict your speech before the council. He's trying to silence you before you speak. Alina didn't flinch. Let him. Fear makes people loud, but not smart. Outside their quarters, the council was beginning to divide. Older, founding species like the Vorton, Delari, and Hesari backed Virex's calls for caution. But newer members, the fringe traders, the border colonies, the uplifted species, saw something else in humanity, potential. It was in the halls, in the whispers. Some admired Earth's speed. Others wanted to copy it. And some simply wanted protection from pirates and raiders, something the council had failed to provide in recent years. The tension snapped the next morning. A call came through at dawn. Rico answered it, and his face turned pale. There's been an attack, he said. One of our escort ships, the Midnight Arrow, was docked at the Harkon trade hub. It's been sabotaged. Alina stood up immediately. Casualties? No deaths, but serious damage. Someone breached the hull and tampered with the AI core. Alina's expression darkened. The Midnight Arrow had been powered down, under council regulations. The attack was a message, not an assassination. Someone wanted them rattled. Give me the security footage, she said. Within minutes, they were watching the grainy holograms. A figure cloaked in a disguise slipped past Harkon security and planted a small device near the ship's systems. The figure moved with knowledge, someone trained. Alina leaned forward. Run facial pattern analysis. A council AI processed the image. The result came back with a 92% match. Name, Jolene Vrex. Security officer under Chancellor Virex's command. Silence filled the room. He sent his own people to sabotage us, Rico whispered. Under council protection. Alina stood. He's not afraid of us. He's afraid of what we represent. She didn't request a meeting. She walked directly into the council tower. The guards at the chamber doors tried to stop her. She held up her diplomatic badge. I have the right to report a direct attack on Earth's delegation, she said. Her voice was sharp and steady. The guards hesitated, then stepped aside. Inside, the council was in session. Virex was already speaking, his long voice echoing through the circular chamber. Which is why I urge caution. Humanity's sudden arrival, their military fleet, their unclear intentions, these are signs not of peace, but of conquest disguised as diplomacy. Alina walked forward, her boots ringing across the metal floor. She spoke without waiting to be invited. One of my ships was attacked on a council-regulated station. The chamber grew still. She tapped her wrist, and a projection lit the center of the room. The footage played, the cloaked figure planting the device. Then, the identity tag. Your officer, Chancellor, she said. Caught on council footage. Virex didn't blink. I have no knowledge of this act. Then investigate it. And if you don't, I will. Murmurs rippled through the council. Alina turned slowly, facing them all. We came in peace. And you welcomed us with sabotage. This isn't fear. It's desperation. Earth has changed, but some of you haven't. You still think peace means silence and control. She looked directly at Virex. We won't play that game. Then she walked out, leaving the council in silence. Later that night, on the far edge of the city, Alina met privately with Ambassador Lorvek of the Volari, a species known for neutrality and sharp insight. You've stirred the hive, Lorvek said with a half-smile. They're not sure if you're a hero or a threat. Alina looked out the window, watching the council towers glow in the distance. Let them decide, she said. We didn't come here to ask permission. 3 days after the sabotage, the storm in the council chamber had not passed. If anything, it had grown larger. The incident with the Midnight Arrow had become public knowledge. Independent news streams across the galaxy picked up the story. Commentators, scholars, and ordinary citizens debated one question. Was the Galactic Council afraid of Earth? Inside Concordia Prime's diplomatic quarters, Commander Alina Voss stood over a sleek, black glass table. Her team had gathered again. Lieutenant Rico Sohn was updating fleet telemetry on a tablet. Dr. Aruna Malik read a report with narrowed eyes. Tension hung in the air like static. Council leadership refuses to investigate the sabotage, Aruna said flatly. They've labeled it an internal matter and sealed the footage. Chancellor Virex claims it was faked. Of course he does, Rico muttered. If they admit the truth, they lose control of the story. Alina didn't respond immediately. She stared at the holographic display above the table, showing the Council's communication map, channels lighting up between systems, some flashing red. Others are watching, she said at last. They see what the Council is trying to hide. She turned to Rico. Is the Orion's Edge ready? Rico gave a short nod. All systems green. Shields, drives, and AI are on standby. The Orion's Edge was one of Earth's newest vessels. A sleek, dark gray cruiser with a quantum displacement drive, capable of folding space in real time. It was powered by fusion cores 10 times more efficient than anything in Council fleets. It wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. Alina looked across the room. Then it's time we show them. That afternoon, word spread through the Council Tower like a shockwave. Earth was holding a demonstration. Public. Unrestricted. Open to all Council members. The location was chosen carefully, Platform Theta 9, a large orbital arena above Concordia Prime once used for peacekeeping drills. Now, it would become the stage for one of the most important moments in Council history. Ambassadors, military officers, and diplomats from over 100 species gathered in the floating arena. Every seat was filled. Countless more watched the broadcast from across the galaxy. A large force field enclosed the platform. A circular open space hovered at its center, silent and vast. Then, without sound, a shadow emerged from the darkness of orbit. The Orion's Edge. It moved like no ship anyone had ever seen. Not gliding or burning thrusters, just appearing, its hull slipping through space as if time itself bent to its will. A digital voice spoke over the comms. Quantum displacement test begins in 10 seconds. A shimmering ripple spread through the air. The ship disappeared, vanished from sight in an instant. Gasps filled the arena. Before anyone could react, it reappeared behind the platform. Then again, 10 kilometers above. Then beside the crowd. Not jumping. Not warping. Sliding through folded space, like water through a crack. On the final pass, it hovered in front of the spectators. A section of its hull opened, revealing sleek interior systems, automated drones, and a glowing AI core. Then the voice returned. End of demonstration. Silence. Then murmurs. Then awe. And then fear. Some ambassadors clapped softly. Others whispered into comm units. A few stood in stunned silence. On a private balcony overlooking the arena, Chancellor Virex Thal watched with clenched fists. His advisors stood behind him, quiet and pale. This is what they planned, he growled. This is what they waited for. His aide, a thin insectoid named Tura, hesitated. They said nothing for a century. They prepared, Chancellor. They outgrew us. They outpaced us, Virex corrected. That is not the same. The next day, Virex made his move. He called for a full council vote. Earth is to be denied official recognition as a council member and restricted to observation-only status for the next 50 years. The motion sent shockwaves through the chamber. Alina received the notice within minutes. She stood before her team, face unreadable. They want to put us in a cage, Rico said bitterly. They're scared, Aruna replied. And they should be. Alina looked out the wide window toward the city lights of Concordia Prime. Then we show them we don't need a seat to change the room. She activated the fleet-wide transmission node. Her voice was calm, steady, and broadcast across open space. This is Commander Alina Voss of Earth. We came with respect. We followed the rules. And we were met with fear, sabotage, and silence. So from today forward, Earth is open to direct cooperation with any species that seeks trade, knowledge, or protection. You do not need council permission. We offer partnership, not control. Within hours, dozens of systems sent messages back. Independent colonies, border species, traders, scientists, and even minor governments reached out, asking for dialogue. Virex raged behind closed doors. His control was slipping. The old balance was cracking. In one private council session, an ambassador from the Volari stood and said quietly, "Perhaps Earth is not the disruption we fear, but the correction we need." That night, Alina sat alone in her chamber, watching distant ships cross the skies of Concordia Prime. Earth had not fired a shot, but they had made their move. The council was divided. Ever since the demonstration of the Orion's Edge, nothing had been the same. The Galactic Council, once united under a banner of peace and order, now cracked along old lines. The older species, the founders, clung to their authority, while the younger and outer systems looked to Earth with growing interest. The balance was shifting. Chancellor Virex Thal knew it. He felt it in every chamber session, in every closed-door meeting, in the way his allies hesitated before voting. And he was running out of time. In the high chamber, Virex called for the final vote, to deny Earth full council status and restrict all member contact with them. His voice rang across the hall with force, every word measured and sharp. Humanity has shown technological strength. But that is not enough. They arrive without warning, demand a seat at our table, and now invite our members to bypass our structure. This is not diplomacy. This is manipulation. Earth must be contained for the safety of us all. He stood in the center of the floating council floor, tall and cold. Some counselors nodded. Others avoided his gaze. The vote would begin at sunrise. Meanwhile, inside the Earth diplomatic suite, Commander Alina Voss prepared for the confrontation. Her team worked in silence. Lieutenant Rico Sen checked the network nodes while Dr. Aruna Malik read through the Council's latest protocols. They're pushing this through fast, Rico said. They're afraid of how many species are talking to us off record. They're afraid of losing control, Alina replied. This vote isn't about Earth. It's about power. Then a new message came in, urgent, flagged by a neutral system near the edge of Council space. Alina opened it. Her eyes narrowed. A Council destroyer intercepted one of our diplomatic transports, she said quietly. They claimed it was outside authorized zones. They boarded it. No warning. No cause. Rico stood up. That's a violation of Council law. They know it. They want us to react, Aruna said. They want to paint us as aggressors. Alina turned to her team. We're not going to start a war. But we're not going to take this quietly. She called a meeting with key ambassadors, those still undecided, watching from the shadows. In a secure chamber inside Concordia Prime's lower district, Alina faced a group of silent observers. No cameras. No broadcasts. The Council is afraid, she said. But fear is not leadership. We came to offer partnership, not obedience. If you block us now, you send a message to every rising species in the galaxy that progress is punished and control matters more than cooperation. One ambassador, a thin, scaled being from the Ashari sector, asked carefully, and if the vote passes tomorrow? What then? Alina's answer was simple. Then Earth moves forward without the Council. And we're not the only ones who will. The day of the vote arrived. The Grand Chamber was full. Delegates floated in their rings. The central platform shimmered with light. Virex stood tall. Let the record show that today's vote will decide Earth's official status. They have requested full Council membership. I move that their request be denied, and their diplomatic activities limited. He looked out across the chamber. Their power is undeniable. But so is their danger. The vote began. One by one, the delegates cast their decisions. Light pulses moved across the room, green for approval, red for denial. It was close. Too close. When the final vote came in, the chamber fell silent. The tally was even. One delegate remained, Ambassador Juno of the Atriads, a reclusive species that rarely took sides. All eyes turned to her. She paused, then slowly rose. I have watched humanity with caution, she said, but also with interest. They have not invaded. They have not threatened. They have only asked to be heard. And we must not be afraid of new voices. Her ring pulsed green. Gasps spread through the chamber. The vote tipped. Earth was granted provisional Council membership. Alina watched from her private terminal. Her expression didn't change. But inside, she felt the weight of the galaxy shift. Virex stood frozen. Then, calmly, he turned to leave the chamber without a word. Later that evening, Alina was invited to address the chamber. It was brief, quiet, and powerful. She stood in the center ring, surrounded by 1,000 species. Humanity thanks you. Not for power, not for status, but for trust. We will not waste it. No promises. No threats. Just truth. Outside, as night fell over Concordia Prime, her voice echoed across the stars. The skies above Concordia Prime shimmered with soft light as the sun began its slow rise behind the eastern towers. The streets were quiet, and the stars above dimmed in the growing light. But the city itself felt different. The air held tension, but not fear. Change had come. Inside the Earth Embassy, Commander Alina Voss stood on the wide balcony, looking out across the sprawling capital of the Galactic Council. She was calm, but not relaxed. Her uniform was neatly pressed, her posture straight, as always. Behind her, Lieutenant Rikosen walked up, carrying a data pad. Final vote logs just published. Confirmed tally. 164 in favor, 163 opposed. One abstained. Alina didn't turn. It was close. Too close. They still don't trust us, he said. They shouldn't, she replied. Not yet. She took the data pad and read through the summary. Earth had been granted provisional council membership. That meant they could speak, attend sessions, build embassies, and negotiate trade. But they still had no voting rights. Not yet. Still, it was enough. For now. Alina turned back into the room. The lights inside were dim. A few Earth officers and diplomats were reviewing schedules and new contact requests. Since the vote, messages had poured in from dozens of species, some eager for cooperation, others quietly looking for protection. Dr. Aruna Malik was already scanning the new contacts. The Valari want to open a research exchange, she said. The Molari Council is requesting AI assistance on their long-range probes. And we've received 3 formal requests for mutual defense pacts. Rico raised an eyebrow. Defense already? Some systems no longer trust the Council to keep them safe, Aruna said. They saw how Virex tried to silence us. They know the old way is cracking. Alina nodded once. She understood. The Council had survived for centuries on structure and predictability. But Earth had shattered that rhythm. In just a few weeks, humanity had gone from myth to political power, without firing a single shot. Virex had not taken it well. He hadn't spoken publicly since the vote. But sources said he was meeting privately with old allies, preparing countermeasures, perhaps even looking for loopholes to block Earth's progress. It didn't matter. The door had opened. Later that afternoon, Alina was summoned for a private council audience. It was not in the Grand Chamber. This meeting took place in a quiet hall beneath the central tower, where only the most sensitive matters were discussed. Inside the room, a few key council members waited. No cameras. No aides. Chancellor Virex Thal stood at the far end. He was calm, colder than before. His scaled face gave away nothing. You've gained your foothold, he said, voice low. But don't mistake it for victory. I didn't come here to conquer, Alina said. No, Virex replied. But you came ready to take what you wanted. Alina didn't deny it. I underestimated your kind, Virex continued. You learned faster than expected. You came prepared. You speak our language. You wear the face of peace. But behind it, I see ambition. She met his eyes. We're not here to tear your council down. But we won't ask for permission to grow. That era is over. Virex's voice dropped lower. Then be careful what you grow into. Silence passed between them. The meeting ended without agreement, without ceremony. But something important had been said and heard. That evening, Alina returned to the embassy. She stood alone in her office, the stars now fully visible again in the night sky. Her hand hovered over the hollow console. Then she tapped it. A secure transmission opened. The screen lit with the symbol of Earth's central AI, GIA-1, the core intelligence that coordinated Earth's planetary systems, science networks, and military operations. The AI's voice was smooth, without emotion. Connection secure. Commander Voss. Report. We've been accepted, Alina said. Provisional status. Open channels. First step is complete. Understood. Begin integration protocol. Monitor council responses. Adapt cultural model. There was a pause. Then Alina added softly, they're not ready for what's coming. That is confirmed. The screen faded. She looked out the window again. Across the city, council ships and buildings shimmered in the night. High above, the Orion's edge still hovered in quiet orbit, watching, waiting. Humanity had arrived. Not as invaders. Not as beggars. But as equals, or maybe more. And though they had come in peace, they would not wait forever. The galaxy was already changing.